Good morning, beautiful. It's great to see you. Lovely to be out here in the wide world. There's the sky and there's the moon, which is still a super moon just because it's not full. It's still pretty close and big and glorious. And you know, we have bird song and flybys and the things I wanted to show you today. And this is the back garden. And the feed is a bit bumpy. Morning, Kaya. Here's the autumn foliage. Hi, Nora. Lovely to see you. Morning, Linda. Morning, Steph. Just doing a pan so you can see the edge. There's the edge of the wild of the back garden. There's the magnolia and the lawn that I walk around on. The feed is bumpy today. But let me just pan back again. It should smooth its way out. I admit, Steph, that I have been offline the whole weekend. I have been in another place doing really deep stuff. I will have to check in and make sure that he is okay. So thanks for letting me know. There will be things on WhatsApp, but I have to unplug in the weekend, and I was kind of on a different planet. So here is the Hebe. Which, you know, contrary to many things, it's like it's waking up and saying, I'm going to cover myself in blossom. And it's beautiful. You did catch a Maddie, Kaya. Hi, Vicky. Good morning, beautiful. Morning, Nesreen. Look at the last of the autumn leaves on the ginkgo tree. It's just beautiful. And this is rosemary. Let's get right up close so you can see the flowers. They have beautiful detail. And, well, what's missing? Nothing. They're just glorious. Just trying to get some really sharp focus on them. Yep. I will do my thing, Steph. It's a funny thing, just working my way back out of the garden. It's a funny thing. Let me turn this around now. When you, what's the word? When you care about somebody, but you also care about yourself. And I have to draw a line. I've been doing some really deep stuff. Yesterday I didn't really feel like myself at all, and then I realised actually I just didn't know I was this self. Good morning, Sing Marie. Good morning, Julian. It's great to see from you both. So, and it's interesting, you know, in the context of your question, Steph, that today's conversation is still about saying yes and saying no, because it becomes it's a really challenging thing, you know, and we all have demands upon us, and how do you manage those demands and at the same time manage yourself? Katarina, it's beautiful to see you. How do you balance all of these things that are important and necessary and people you care about with the fact that I'm important and necessary and I care about me, and, you know, geez, that's kind of hard to do sometimes. So I want to talk about this. It was Nora, you asked a really good question. As you said, just sort of flew into my head. I typed it. It wasn't really a big thing, but it's a really important question. You know, how do I know when my yes and when my no is healthy? How do I know when my no is healthy? And it's challenging, right? It is challenging because you care about people and you want to be there for people. But if you're not there for yourself, you end up just emptying yourself and having nothing to give to them anyway. It's very challenging. So what do you do? And how do you know? How do you know when your no is healthy? Well, let me just think about that. Admittedly, I'm pretty connected to my truth and what I know and I need these days. But let me try and dial back to the days when I didn't know and I didn't have a clue. And, oh God, I remember when I was 21, right? Married to a man who was not right for me, was kind and considerate and completely. And my sister, bless her, paid for me to see a really pretty expensive therapist at the time, who happened to be one of her colleagues, who was very good. And she asked me what I wanted. And I don't know how many times I answered her in terms of other people before she said, no, what do you want? I can't remember her words, but I can remember the struggle that I had to try and think about what I wanted. Because my entire way of navigating in the world and being with people and everything was about them. It was about what they would think and what they needed and how, it was all about other people. And clearly that wasn't so healthy, but I didn't know. And it wasn't even codependency. It was just how I had learned to survive. It was just survive, was to always be thinking about how other people would respond, or I don't know, I can't remember, it was a long time ago, and it was about 15 million different selves ago. So, to go from there to now, when it feels light, not heavy, and I didn't know, there's so much, you have to go really deep inside yourself, and I think most of the time, when we need to make a decision, first off, when you're faced with the situation, absolutely, immediately, instantly, before your brain has a chance to start coming up with stuff, you know. You really, really know. You do. But then immediately, just like me, your brain starts to say, but if you follow that thing that you haven't even noticed that you already know you feel you need to do or not do or whatever it is, then this and this and this and this and this and this and all of the stuff jacks up in your brain and starts whirling around like a cloud of hornets, and there's all this fear and all of this consequences and guilt and obligations, whatever it is, right? And because that, for many of us, comes up and gets going so quickly, it's like a motor, like a racing car with the engine revving. You lose touch first with that immediate thing inside you that said yes or no. And you start processing all of the thoughts and the feelings that have been, come up with it all. And trying to find a way through all of that feels safe, I would say, that feels acceptable, that feels like you can tolerate it, that feels like the lowest risk and an acceptable level of pain for you. I think that's the compromise that many of us make. That we're choosing the best of a bad bunch, that we compromise because the risk is just too much. Yeah, and so you had to learn to do what you didn't want because otherwise the coercion that came out of that was even more, and it was just, so you're choosing the best of a bad bunch, right? And many of us, for lots of reasons, and not all of them because people were complete assholes, some people are, and some people are just doing the best they can with what they got, and it's not very good. We end up compromising ourselves, but the confusion that ensues while we're working out that compromise is actually finding a place between, I really don't want to do this, but if I don't do this, then this will happen. And, what is the least pain that I can experience by doing what I know everybody else expects or wants or desires or needs or whatever me to do? And that's really unhealthy, but it helps us survive. A lot of us do that. In all kinds of different circumstances for all kinds of different reasons. Good morning, Dove. Good morning, Linda. It's lovely to see you. So, you end up with ethical challenges. You end up with all of the family stuff. Can be really big for some people. Depends how your family works. Oh my God. There's a need in my family. I am supposed to submerge my life, drop everything. That is a very common instinctual feeling. But what if you really know inside yourself that isn't what you need to do? How do you navigate that? Really deep questions, and I've just realised why the feed is crap. I forgot to turn the Wi-Fi on. I'm going to walk into the house and turn the Wi-Fi on, and it's going to make for a bump, but then the feed's going to be better. Me. I told you I was on another planet this morning. Turning on the Wi-Fi. Making sure it's on. Okay, there's likely to be a bump while it switches over. But after that, we'll get better feed. Okay, right. Yeah, I wasn't kidding I was on a different planet this morning. I went very deep and did very deep healing work, and it's been happening all weekend. And I really felt very altered. So, not surprisingly, I got set up and forgot to turn on the Wi-Fi. And you see, now the feed is better. It shouldn't be so pixelated or broken. So, yeah. Oh, yes. Exactly, Steph. We have to look very deeply at ourselves. And it's painfully difficult sometimes because of... There you go. There's the bump. Now we're on the Wi-Fi. Okay. God. We have to go painfully deep sometimes because of the assumptions that we make about who we're supposed to be and what we are responsible for. Oh my God. And again, a lot of that is programmed. A lot of that is assumed. A lot of it is cultural and societal. And you know, if you don't believe me, just look at different cultures and the different ways that they express those things. It's agreed, it's decided, but it's not actually compulsory. It's not. Trisha, good morning, lovely. And in the midst of massive amounts of need and conflicting demands and, you know, everything, where do I come in? Whoa! It's like we're supposed to empty ourselves looking after everybody else. And sometimes I really think that's the choice that we're making, you know, when something comes along. And I mean, I have people, I had it happen yesterday. Beautiful person, nothing wrong with them. But remember, yesterday I was in a really altered state. I was discovering a level of pain in myself that I didn't know existed. I had to be present with it. And they want to chat with me. It's like, no, I'm not here. I can't do this. I'm not available. But it doesn't come easy to me because I have in the past, and I'm putting it in the past, been somebody who has wanted to be there. And I won't always be able to do that, you know. It's not physically possible. The bigger you grow, the more you create, the more you serve, the more people want a piece of you, if nothing else than to say thank you. And it's not physically possible. What can you do? You cannot empty yourself being there for other people. I must first be there for me, and you must first be there for you. And each of us has to work out what that means in our own lives. And you're right, Steph. You are right. When we back up and say, no, I have to put myself first, and it can take some courage. It really can. But if you step back and you leave a gap, then something else will fill it. Nature loves to create. And nature is an expression of life, and life is the divine observer experiencing itself through us. And if we just stop being who we don't want to be, no matter the circumstances, no matter how challenging, we always get to choose who we're going to be. If we just stop being who we don't want to be, then somebody else can come in and fill that role. Or perhaps it's like stepping out of a tennis game that we never wanted to be playing anyway, and the other person gets to walk off the court and go and play that game with somebody else, or stop playing the game entirely. They might instead actually think, oh shit, this was a pretty crappy game. Let me play a different game instead. You know, people get a choice then. But if you keep on... sorry, I've got a cat incursion going on here. Get out. They just are desperate to get into my house. If you keep on continuing the same dynamics that you've always done because it's comfortable and because it's familiar and it feels a certain amount of safe even though it sucks, then nothing can change. And it does take courage to step out of it. It does take courage to step out of it. How do you find that courage? How do you find that courage when you're looking at all the stuff that's just saying, hello, fix me, I need help, there's stuff going on, and particularly if you've made yourself responsible for it in the past, how do you know if you still want to be? Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I really don't know. Sometimes I have to sit with the thing that's screaming at me for an hour, a day, a week, until I do know. I don't think there's any replacement for this. I don't think there's any shortcut. It's so easy for us to knee-jerk and say, I have to fix this. And I don't know when it was that I made a really deep decision that I just don't want to do it anymore. I will not be a fixer. It can become your identity, Kaya. If that's what you're saying, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is you still want to be. But if something that you find you still want to be is something that you actually don't want to be, well, then you're realising the conflict, You're realising, oh, gee, I'm really attached to that version of myself, and that's okay. It's all right. Helped you survive. Just remember that. There's nothing wrong with who we've been being. It just got us to where we are today. Morning, Maria. The question is always whether we want to keep being that self. And if you do, that's awesome. And if you don't, who do you want to be? And if you don't, who do you want to be? And as that person, what thoughts do you want to think? What feelings do you want to feel? And what behaviours are you going to demonstrate? It's really simple. I did not say that it was easy. But the chaos, the need, the disruption in our lives, that's not easy. It isn't. I'm perfectly aware that I practically live in heaven here because the disruption has been almost nil for me. For many people, it's turned their lives upside down, and it continues to do so. But the point is, do you want to interact with the broken pieces of your old life? Which pieces do you actually want to pick up? Does it need to be fixed, or should you just let it all crash to the ground and say, okay, of all of these shattered bits, which bits do I actually want? Finding it in the middle of 2 pulls, threw up everything and did what you wanted. And it takes enormous courage. It does, especially when all those old guilt programs are saying, you should be this and you should be that. Be the good wife and be the good daughter and be the good son and be the good whatever it is. It's like, there comes a point where you just say, no. No! The no gets stronger with practice. Is it healthy? Sometimes it takes enormous courage and it doesn't feel light. It's nice when it does. I mean, you think, this feels really good. It's awesome. Sometimes the knowing in you is so strong that you can't ignore it, even though you really wish you could. Sometimes you just know that if you don't take a certain path, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. Yeah, that, Steph. You drop the F-bomb as many times as you need to. It takes so much courage to say no. It takes a lot of courage to say no to ourselves, and sometimes it even takes more courage to say yes. Saying yes means saying no to something else. Saying no means saying yes to something else. We're always choosing. And we are always, one way or another, whether we feel it or know it or whatever, at least, here in this space where we are making conscious choices as well as we can, we are always choosing love. But now I'm going to get all philosophical for a minute. I've got 2 minutes. Whatever, I can do what I like with my last 2 minutes. This is something I've been becoming clearer and clearer and clearer about just in the last few days. The divine observer only gets to experience itself through us. It doesn't get to experience itself in any other way. I mean, it gets to experience itself through the stars and the planets and all the other conscious beings that are out there, which we can't see and know, but, there's argument about that. They're real, come on. We're the only intelligent life in the universe. Get a grip. The plants, the animals, everything that's here, the houses, the constructions, everything that's here, every molecule, every atom, is the divine observer expressing itself one way or another. Yeah, that goes for all the ugly people and things too, by the way. The whole kit and caboodle. And you know what I've really, not discovered, you know what it told me? In this space of complete connection and feeling the allness of everything, which is indescribable, but you'll just have to imagine it. I love it all. I love it all. I love it all. The divine observer doesn't care what we choose. It loves it all. It's just mind-blowing, heart-blowing to me. It loves all of it. It wants to experience all of it. It doesn't mind whether you choose the depths of sorrow or the heights of joy. It wants to experience all of that through you. And it absolutely loves whatever you choose, because it gets to experience it. Remember, if you're only light, you can't know yourself. It needs the experience. Why do you think, it said to me, why do you think I created all this? I was just a thought. I thought all of this into being, and now I can experience myself. That's what we're doing. Yeah. The allness of everything is me and you. And yes, absolutely. Oh, God, I still want to be there. Every time I go there, it's like, no, I don't want to come back. I don't want this moment to end. Totally with you on that, Kaya. Funny how long it takes the comments to come through, right? But they do. So, whatever you choose is fine by God. And so you might as well choose yourself. Very much love. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.